everybody, Brandon Jones here from GameTrailers.com. I'm joined by Kyle Bossman.
I love trailers.
And Daniel Bloodworth.
Hey,
we love trailers so much, sometimes we talk about movie trailers. That's why we're here. We're here to talk about Suicide Squad, which came out from Comic-Con. You saw it if you were at the panel at Comic-Con, or you've seen it since yesterday when it went up on the internet. And I think it's something that we should talk about because it's something that everybody's talking about. So let's talk about it.
It's taken some work, but I finally have them. The worst of the worst.
Specifically, let's talk about the trailer itself, and that's kind of the conversation that's already been had, is who are these characters, what are they teasing here, specifically Harley's involvement. You know, like there's a lot of interesting Harley shots, first time we've ever seen a woman, other than like a fan film, actually play her on the big screen. And so we get a little bit of her backstory, and I imagine a bunch of people like ran to the internet to try to figure out like who these characters were. Because the tone of this, I think, is pulled off very well. Obviously, a lot of people like the film, but still hate Jared Leto's Joker, and there's people that fall in the opposite camp.
Yeah.
So you can talk about the nerdiness level of it. But I want to talk about the trailer itself. I mean, that's what we always try to strive to do, is like, how is this constructed as something you're going to show off? Obviously, I don't want to get into like the debate of like whether they should have released this or shown it, just like showing it to anybody, whether it's the internet at large or it's people just in a Comic-Con panel. What do you think, Kyle Bossman?
So it's funny. It's fun that it begins with all of the questions the audience should have about Suicide Squad. You know, this general says, but they're the bad guys. You know, it's kind of this. They just address all of her concerns straight off the top. I like it, and I love the music choice. I'm actually way into it. I think it really sets a tone. Way more serious than I thought Suicide Squad would be as a movie.
I think the music choice is probably the best thing about it. I think it's a little bit sleepy because I think the best moment, I mean, not that I'm just like guns solve everything in action films, but like when they come storming into that place in big costumes and you see the guy in the bat mask and it's like, you know, like the helicopter crashing, Deadshot jumping off the building, like all of these are really strong moments. And a lot of this trailer's just kind of like standing around and looking at stuff. Like by the time we get to like Harley holds up her bat and then, you know, cocks it like a shotgun. And, like, it has a little bit of impact, but it's just, like, a lot of walking around. And so the song is really pretty, but I wonder if they could have cut, like, 20 seconds out of the song. But then again, it's a tough argument because why not bring the longer version of Comic-Con and just show them that, you know? Like, if you have that first edit that's 3 minutes long, like, yeah, sure, we'll bring 3 minutes of footage instead of cutting it down for all these Comic-Con people. What do you think of the pace, Mr. Bloodworth?
The total like average viewer noob, I think, where it's like, I don't know anything about Suicide Squad before they started talking about this movie and how all this, you know, would set up. But it's definitely an intriguing concept to me, and I think in a sense it's kind of, there's so many different things happening, and it's kind of hard to get a sense of like yeah, what are they actually doing? Like, what is the threat or that they're getting assembled for? Also, I find it very interesting that they kind of showed some of them like their real like humanity, and like showing them with like what I assume is family members and that kind of thing, and just hanging out. They seem sort of like off the leash in a lot of ways.
And that hanging out, I think, is if you have lots of hanging out with a song like this that's really dreamy and it's like a lullaby, it kind of slows the pace of the whole thing down.
I think honestly, it's a lack of footage. This
totally. Oh,
this is so far away. I think they just didn't have the scenes that we wanted to see. Especially, I think like a lot of it is spent on the Harley origin story. Like all these shots of like the panda invading with a machine gun, that's all Harley's origin, and it's never really communicated that it is. Do you know what I mean? And so that's really. Yeah, this trailer doesn't really tell a story. We just hear Will Smith say, well, let's go save the world. And so it's like, okay, go do it, Suicide Squad. Like, it's not clear.
And then they just walk around the city. It's like, all right, let's go save the world. And then it's just like 5 more shots of them walking around.
Good luck, guys.
Again, it seems like a desperation to kind of put, you know, a bunch of Harley shots and then random shots in between them, because we do like jump to Harley and then to something else and then back to Harley. I think the one where she's like giggling on the floor, it's like, that's really too much. Like that's because that just doesn't mean, you know, it's like right now we're looking at the beginning where we see her like hanging upside down, and like that's such a great introduction.
Yeah.
If you watched the the video that leaked, you can hear them like cheering in the background when they see her for the first time. Smart to save Joker for the end, obviously. I mean, interesting to have Joker revealed in a film that's not a new Batman film, but rather the Suicide Squad. Regardless of what you think of him, smart to have him at the end.
Brandon, it's
You
so
hear his Joker. You hear his laugh kind of echoey in the background.
it's so weird for him to just be standing there like telling a woman, "I'm gonna hurt you really, really bad," and then to hear people cheering it like crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah, hurt her, Joker. Do it. Like, come on. Oh boy. Oh well. That's the clip they chose, I guess.
And I mean, they're not. It'd be one thing if the heroes of the film were doing that, yeah. But he's like the bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also kind of what you want to do with any comic book film. Is you want to have have Thanos at the end. You want to have Ultron at the end.
Yeah.
You want to have the villain.
Nah, he's scary. He's definitely scary.
It is scary, and I think that's one of the things. The Batman vs Superman trailer was also very heavy, but like really big action, really big, call to action lines. Where they're talking about like these two guys going at it and what it means to be a superhero. And this is just a lot of really dark, mysterious things. And one of the things I keep seeing pop up on social media is questions. Like this raises a ton of questions, specifically who are each of these people because they look interesting. Just would have liked to see a little more of a spread. When you see them all walking around at the end, it's clear that like some of those people walking in the group didn't get as much love as some of the other characters. So if you're going to flash that Suicide Squad thing at the end, then at least give us a little glimpse of everybody, a little taste, and not just focus on a couple people. Didn't really think of a score. We kind of rushed into these trailer scores today. I didn't really think of... It's grown on me. 8.9.
Wow.
It's a little too slow, and I feel bad because we're scoring it because it was not meant for mass consumption. This
Right.
was like the first draft of something. Like I really think the one thing you have to keep in mind is like the process that this trailer went through and the process that Star Wars documentary trailer went through are two completely different revision processes. This is probably like a third cut, whereas that documentary they showed at Star Wars, like that went through multiple development phases before they were like, okay, we can finally show this. We've gotten approval from everybody. We know what music we want to use. We got those last little shots, like some sound effects in there and stuff. Whereas this was just like, because there's not a lot of sound. Like it's really echoey and creepy to just hear the music, but it's also easy. So then you don't have to like put in all the gun sound effects and all that. Like they haven't done that yet.
They don't have that mix done, yeah.
And clearly, like they were really happy. But that's Amanda Waller's scene where she's explaining everything. They're like, well, once we have that, we got a trailer.
Yeah.
And then we just throw a bunch of Harley in there. But it's haunting. And I think I probably would have started around 8.4, 8.5 upon seeing it for the first time. And then the more I've seen it, the more it's edged up there for me. What do you think, Kyle?
I'll give it a 7.5. 7.5. To me, you absolutely don't need the line, "So we're some kind of Suicide Squad" in this trailer or in the movie. But don't
or in the movie.
Don't put that in your trailer. We don't need it. You absolutely don't need that line. But again, it's kind of as we described it. After the setup, a bunch of shots, the ones they had finished probably. So it could have told a better story. I feel like, or clearer. But yeah, it sets a good impression for what this movie is. It makes it its own thing. It's its own movie for sure.
I think that actually does come across really well for me too. That like I wouldn't even have to have this connected to anything, and it would actually feel in a way almost like it would diminish it. And I know that all the comic book movies are trying to connect to each other in their universes, but I do feel like this could be very easily, stand on its own feet, and it kind of has its own take on the world. They don't really feel larger than life to me. They just feel like a bunch of crazy people in a group. I go with 8.2 for this. I think it sets it up pretty well. It doesn't get me super excited, but it gets me intrigued, and I would want to check this out as long as it doesn't sound terrible when people will actually see it.
8.2 for the reveal of Suicide Squad. So it sounds like,
That's a really good score.
Some high scores, some low scores, but we're all maybe a little bit more excited about this than we were beforehand. Kyle?
Absolutely.
Blood and I am, but you are, Kyle, as well?
I'm pumped. I'll watch this movie.
Yeah, so I don't know if the next trailer for Suicide Squad will earn a trailer score from GameTrailers. If we'll specifically make time for it, but when Comic-Con rolls around, it's always good to expect maybe one or two trailer scores. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blood. See you next episode.